Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses. Birmingham Small Arms, a company founded in the UK in 1861 by 14 Birmingham gunsmiths to manufacture weapons in the late 19th century. Makes you wonder whether the real Peaky Blinders actually used their weapons, and despite what the TV show depicts, there's no evidence that they did. However, over 1.5 million weapons later, BSA manufactured their first motorcycle in 1910. A powerful 3.5 horsepower belt-driven bike. They bought Daimler in 1910, they climbed Snowdon on them in 1924, they made cars in 1929, they bought Triumph in 1951, and their weapons were not only used in World War I, they were used in World War II also, as well as their bikes. And by the late 1960s, 80% of British motorcycle exports were BSAs, leading to them being given the Queen's Award to Industry. However, in 1971, they were found to be £3 million in debt, and despite them bringing out 13 new BSA and Triumph models, they went bankrupt in 1973, and that was the end of BSA. Until 2016, when they were bought by the Indian Mahindra Group. They revived the brand, and in 2021 they bought out the new BSA 650 Gold Star. Then the BSA 650 Scrambler, which I have here also, but today we are concentrating on this, the all-new 2025 BSA 350 Bantam. Using the same 334cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine as used in the Mahindra-made Jawa and Yezdi 350s, it has 29 brake horsepower and 22 pounds-foot of torque with a 6-speed box. It uses right-way-up front forks and twin rear shocks, giving that old-school look. You get a 320mm front disc with a double-piston bi-breed caliper and a 240mm rear disc with a single-piston caliper. And of course, you get ABS. The wheels are cast alloy, 18-inch front, 17-inch rear, with a 150 back tyre and a 100 front using MRF rubber. Not a brand I'm familiar with, but we'll find out what they're like when we're on the road. The Bantam 350 is 2.1 metres long, 850mm wide, and with the mirrors 1.4 metres tall. Seat height is just 800mm. 13-litre fuel tank, and it weighs in at 185 kilos, which is not a lot at all. Now I'm 5'10.5" with a 31.5-inch inside leg, seated very comfortably. I've got a slight bend in my knee and completely flat on the floor, and I've got a bit to spare. So it basically feels like a 350 Classic, to be honest. Comfortability wise, the seat is quite firm, and I can feel with my feet beside, there's a tiny bit digging in the sides, but it's not intrusive. I can just feel it's there, but then again, it is a wider seat than maybe a modern sports bike, obviously. With your feet up, you don't notice it at all, and I'm quite keen to see what it's like on the road, so I think we should do that now. Let's get out there and ride it. So before we go out riding, let's talk about the looks. Colour scheme, not bad. The grey and white, quite like it. Now there are various colours, and this is what they are. And now you can see where the resemblance to the Royal Enfield colours comes in. However, not saying anything that it's copying, not at all, of course. I like the styling. It's got that sort of modern retro feel to it. You've got the old BSA symbol there, like that. It looks like a Lee Enfield 303. I could be wrong. BSA badge on here, but it is a sticker that's lacquered in. At least it's not on top, but maybe like this one would have been nice, something like that. But on the tank, I think it might have been nice, but you know, maybe it's because it's the modern retro, not the classic retro. Then of course you get the modern looks. Oh, I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. I like the mudguard extension they've got on here. That's quite a nice touch, just to keep the crap off the radiator grill there. You do get a little grill over the radiator, so that's quite nice. And the belly pan down the bottom there. Of course, that is plastic, but you know, I'm sure it'll do its job. It's not going off road, so it doesn't really matter. Nice touch on the exhaust with the BSA stamped on there. with the exhaust cover, looks quite good, and the quality looks fine. You know, of course you've got plastic mud guards, the metal tank, it's not a tank cover, it is a metal tank. From the front, again, the BSA on the modern headlight works quite well. Little indicators work nicely. Again, in keeping with that modern retro style, you've got the cast wheels, the little BSA insets in there. That's quite a nice touch. Again, a little single light around there as well. A little hint of classic, even though it is a modern classic. Switch gears, they look pretty decent enough, and the digital dash, even though it's got that, again, classic look, and the little BSA stamped on there. Let's start it up and have a listen. Key down the side there. High, interesting. Fuel gauge, miles per hour, clock, gear indicator. Side stand is down, so yes, we know that. Clutch in. Hazard flashes there, the little button, and there we go. It's got sort of a 125, but I'm not quite a 125 sound to it. Yeah, it sounds okay. Sounds okay. It sounds like a 350, to be honest. That's being hit by the Euro 5 Plus bug. I like the little hint to the UK there with a little flag on the seat. That's quite a nice touch. I like this as well. 1903 stamped on there, the little BSA symbol, even though it is offset. So those with OCD, it's not in the middle, it's offset. The reason why they do that is because obviously the middle of the tank goes quite far up with the frame. So putting that on there, when you put the fuel in, you'd hit the bottom of the tank and probably splash back. So that's why they put it to one side, I'm sure. But yeah, there we go. Again, BSA Motorcycles 1903 stamped on there. Nice touch. Obviously that's not when they were founded, that's when they were they started the motorcycle company, even though the first BSA motorcycle didn't come out until 1910. They founded the motorcycle side in 1903. So there we go. And let's go for a ride. So what we got on here, we've got trip on there, trip A and trip B, odometer, up and down. If you want to change S, what does that do? Not sure at the moment. Select, I'm guessing. So maybe that's my trip A. Not seeing much happening with that. I'll read the manual later and I'll fill that in at the bottom here about what those buttons do. And you've got your flasher on here, that's the main beam towards you, and then flash thusly, and a horn. Oh, quite an old style horn, that works. Right then, let's go. Alright. Quite a typical sort of farty sound that you expect from a Euro 5 Plus bike that's a 350. Very in keeping with most modern classic bikes. Mirrors are alright. If you position them in the right place, you get about 80 to 85% visibility. But you just sort of have to move yourself to have a look, to be honest. Seat is quite firm even when you're riding, and the suspension feels quite firm as well, to be honest. Now you have got sort of preload adjustable on the rear there, but not on the front, but it feels okay. I mean, it is quite harsh ride, I will be honest, but again, that's I suppose in keeping with the classic style. It feels quite peppy. 29 brake horsepower. In comparison to the likes of the Royal Enfield, it does feel as though it's got a bit more get up and go. And the Honda, to be honest. We'll see what it's like on the dual carriageway, so whether it holds itself at 70 when we get on there. But at the moment, yeah, it feels quite light, quite nimble. It feels quite a small bike. Doesn't feel big. It doesn't feel tiny. I mean, I'm in fourth gear at the moment, and I can feel that if I open it up, it does start to pull. So that's not bad. I mean, the weather today, yes, is sunny, but it also is a little bit blustery with a little bit of a wind, and we'll see how that fares when we're on the dual carriageway, bearing in mind I am sitting upright. I'm in fifth gear now. I'm going to put it in sixth at 30. Oh, and it works. It doesn't feel very vibey, to be honest. And if I... No, it doesn't. Even if I open it up at 30, it doesn't feel like it's struggling. It goes blah, 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 blah. Not at all. It feels like it can handle it in sort of anything from fourth to sixth. Where are you going? Wherever you're going, you're doing it slowly. Right, so onto the 40, and that gets up there pretty nicely. So it feels quite peppy, like it's got a spring in its step. And we're now about to go onto the dual carriageway, and we'll see how it holds its own at 70. It's quite easy to hold at speed as well. You're not sort of jolting about at all. It's not surging and feeling bitty. It feels quite composed at sort of any speed you put it at, really. Gear change is nice and smooth. Down into third, second gear, and let's see how we fare. Okay, up to 65, into sixth, 70 quite happily, and it'll do more. However, when you are sitting at 70, I am getting a buzz through the foot pegs and a tiny buzz through the grips. 66 up to 70 there. Yeah, we're going uphill, and I am 100 kilos in weight. So taking my 100 kilos and the 184 kilos of the bike up to 70 up a hill, it'll hold it, but you won't increase speed. But it'll sit at 70, and it feels quite composed. Even though it's quite blustery, it doesn't feel as though I'm being blown around. It is sort of holding its own quite happily. Indicators are easy to use, switch gears are nice and simple, easy to reach. You can't really hear it at 70 miles an hour. Fourth gear into third, and then back down the dual carriageway again. So when you take it up in the revs, the vibe from here onwards, as I say, it's getting up to 70. I'm going uphill now in fifth gear, 70 into sixth, and then it holds it at sort of 69, 70, and you can feel the vibration a little bit through the foot pegs. It's not horrendous, don't get me wrong, but you can feel it. And then it's so minute on the grips that you don't really think about it, because you're thinking about feeling it through your feet. But again, it's not off-putting, I just know it's there. But let's be honest, this is not the kind of bike that you're going to be doing 70 mile an hour and beyond.
Unless of course you're commuting on it, and then you will be if you're going on dual carriageways, and then just be mindful that you will feel the buzz through your feet. Other than that, I've got no real complaints about it. At 70 miles an hour, sort of motorway speeds, it'll do it. As I say, bearing in mind I am 100 kilos of pure muscle. Brakes really nice. Pulls up well enough. As I say, the gear change is nice and smooth. A good positive yet smooth clunk as I go up and down through the gears. Jag. And I do like, it's quite nimble, so it pulls into a corner really well. It's quite flickable. And it's peppy out of a corner. That's the word of the day. Oh yeah, it's definitely got some get up and go. That's my word of the day at the moment, peppy. So on these back roads up to 60, no problem. And then if I brake for this corner, brakes are sharp, but they're not like they don't force you down on the front end. It hunkers you quite nicely. Oh, what a lovely view. Look at that, look. It's fun, especially on these back roads. I'd say if you're doing daily commuting on a motorway, this is not the kind of bike, A, that you would probably go for, and B, you probably should go for. It's the kind of bike that you would go out for a blast, do some commuting that takes you on some 60 roads, 50 roads, 40 roads quite happily. If you just, as I say, if you've got long journeys on a 70 mile an hour road, you'd probably want to choose something a bit more comfortable with a bit more powerful engine. I mean, that's a given really, but for what it's designed for this sort of back road fun, nipping around, something like the Triumph Speed 400 or the Honda GB350, it matches its competitors really well. This is a 60 road, but I don't feel as though I need to do it. I will, just to show that it gets up there happily and stays there. I mean, it's quite a bumpy road, and to be fair, it's dealing with the bumps quite well. I mean, another reason why you wouldn't want to do long journeys on it is because it is quite a hard ride and quite a hard seat. Not sports bike hard, but it's not sort of soft and wallowy. But for what it's designed for, it seems to do it really well, to be fair. Let's say this get up and go is what I like about it. It just wants to fly and have fun up to 60. And it takes it into corners well enough, handles things nicely. Yeah, it is a fun machine, and for the price, it's phenomenal. I like it. If I was in the market for something like this, and I was looking at this or the Royal Enfield or the Honda, I think what I will do is see if I can work out, because I've got this for a couple of weeks, a nice comparison video with the Royal Enfield Hunter 350 and the Honda GB 350S, just to see how they compare as a trio. I don't think it's fair to clump the Triumph Speed 400 in, simply because that's 10 more horsepower and 1,800 quid more than this. So I don't think that's fair. But the other two, I think it's worth it. Now, actually, I'm going to put this in 6th. I want to go from 30 up to 40 and see how it fares. Doesn't feel vibey, picks up really well. That's good gearing, to be honest. Yeah, that's pretty good. That was better than I expected. I thought it was going to go dugga 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 dugga, but no, it really doesn't. So anything from sort of 30 mile an hour upwards, you can just leave it in 6th, which is only going to be good on your fuel. But there isn't really anything negative to say about it, other than the vibe on your feet, and the seat is a little bit harder than I would have expected it to be. Again, riding around here like this, absolutely fine, it's comfortable enough, and it's not a solid seat. It's just if you're doing commuting miles, you might find it a little bit unforgiving on the old posterior when it's mixed with this harsher suspension ride. But it's a fun little bike. It's a cheap little bike. It's got that heritage attached to it. And I know there's going to be purists that say it's not a BSA, it's Indian. Well, you could say the same about Royal Enfield, and they've been Indian as long as they were English. You're always going to get the purists. The same with the Lambretta, which is like a Lambretta but a bit more attacky. But yeah, the Lambretta. Why were you indicating left, mate? The Lambretta is more. Oh, now you're turning left. More of a let's say a following. You know, it's a lifestyle choice, Lambretta. To be honest, it's not for reliability. So it's not quite on that vein. But you are going to get the purists to say it's not a BSA. It's not a BSA because it doesn't leak oil and you haven't got to kickstart it 25 times before it goes.
Price-wise, this BSA is only £3,499 plus on the road costs, with a 3-year parts and labour unlimited mileage warranty. So what's the Bantam up against? Well, you have the Royal Enfield Hunter 350, a bike I did like with suspiciously similar colouring. And it came out in 2022. That has 9 brake horsepower and 2 pounds-foot of torque less, and is currently starting at 3,599. Or you've got the Honda GB 350S, which has 8 brake horsepower less and the same torque, but is £500 more. Or perhaps the Triumph Speed 400, which has 10 more brake horsepower and 6 more pounds-foot of torque, but that is £1,800 more than the BSA.
There we go. What a nice little bike. And that really brings me to the end of this little ride review. Thanks for watching. I'll be back, as I say, very soon with that Scrambler 650 from BSA. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and click the notification bell for all those uploads so you don't miss them. And I will speak to you and see you very soon. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. And I am indeed having fun on this farty little Bantam. Goodbye.